In the first scene, skilled safecracker John Bridger has just left a store in Venice, Italy, after buying jewelry for his daughter Stella. Later, he meets professional thief Charlie Croker and his protege in St. Mark's Square. They talk about their most recent plan, which is to steal gold plates valued at $35 million from some Italian gangsters who took them a few days ago. They take a boat and meet with Napster, their computer expert, Rob, their driver, and Left Ear, their explosives expert, to speak with Steve, their insider. As they reach the garage beneath the apartment, where the gangsters have the safe with the plates, Steve, who is in the apartment just above and below the garage, plants a C4 plastic explosive on the ceiling beneath the safe. Left Ear then does the same beneath Steve, blowing out the floor and dropping the safe into the boat. Gang members pursue Rob and Napster through the Venice canals, but as Steve shouts for help, they flee. However, they are revealed to be a ruse to draw the thieves out. John and Charlie are dressed in scuba gear, with the safe submerged in the water. John manages to open it and they load the gold into the scuba vehicles before fleeing the site just as the police arrive. Later, in the Alps near the Austrian border, the group celebrates the robbery with wine near a small cot, where they share stories about what they wish to do with the gold and their future plans, while John and Charlie choose to split up and find peace. However, as they approach the Austrian border, they are stopped on a narrow bridge by an armed squad in two jeeps who assault them with firearms and begin to unload the gold. Steve points his gun at Rob, admitting that he paid off his backup and betrayed the group with the intention of keeping the gold for himself. When John tries to resist, Steve kills him. While Steve is out, Rob drives the truck into the lake, and Steve and the other men grab rifles and start shooting at the bottom to kill the rest. Charlie pulls out numerous oxygen tanks to keep the group breathing until Steve leaves. When they get at the shore, Charlie mourns John before they leaving. A year later, Stella Bridger, John's estranged daughter and a vault technician, has just finished her latest task, cracking a safe for the police, when she walks into her office to discover Charlie waiting for her. She is still upset with him for her father's passing, but Charlie tells her that his contact, Skinny Pete, has identified Steve, who has moved to Los Angeles with the gold, which he is laundering for cash, and changed his last name to Frizzelli. He wants her to assist him in stealing the gold. Stella initially declines, but after looking at her father's keepsake and the necklace John purchased her in Venice, she calls Charlie and agrees to the job. After accepting the task, Charlie introduces Stella to the rest of the crew, and they all arrive in Los Angeles to strategize how to steal Steve's gold. Lyle keeps an eye out for weak points in his home, while Charlie goes to Skinny Pete with Left Ear to collect the explosives for the security gates. After tapping his phone, they devise a plan to destroy his electronics by cutting off the power, and then they have Stella act as a phone technician with a small camera in her shirt pocket to search his house for the vault, while Steve is not aware of Stella. Steve, on the other hand, has an attraction to Stella, and he invites her out after fixing his modem. The group devises a plot to rob Steve when he is enticed out to go on a date. They prepare explosives and tools to break into Steve's vault and get 3 Mini Coopers tuned up with the help of Rob's friend and mechanic, Wrench. However, the initial plan fails when they discover Steve's neighbor having a party, forcing them to abandon the mission because there are too many witnesses and Steve may suspect them. Stella goes on a date with Steve to distract him, but she accidentally discloses herself after quoting her father's well-known line. When Steve threatens her, Charlie reveals himself to him as a member of the gang and tells him that he will exact revenge on Steve for what he did, hitting him in the face. The gang has difficulty robbing Steve's residence now that he knows they are alive and ready to inflict revenge, and Steve tries to expedite the process of laundering the gold, which he carries out through Yevon, the owner of a Ukrainian jewelry store. However, upon visiting him one night to launder numerous plates for Yevon, he accidentally reveals that he is aware of the Venice robbery, and Steve murders him despite his assurances that he did not tell anyone. However, Yevon's cousin, Maskov, a member of the Ukrainian mafia family, seeks vengeance for Yevon's death and locates Skinny Pete through one of his contacts. Since Skinny Pete had been inquiring about the location of the plates for Charlie and warns Charlie about Mashkov after paying a visit. After monitoring to Steve's calls, Napster discovers that Steve intends to reload the remaining gold to Mexico in order to divert it away from Charlie, and that he intends to carry it to LAX in an armored truck. Charlie devises a strategy to make better the gold in transit, while also recruiting Wrench to the squad. After getting equipment from Skinny Pete, they plan the ultimate strategy and prepare for Steve's leaving. On scheduled day, Steve is in the helicopter overseeing the loading, while Rob stands in front of Steve's mansion waiting for the truck. However, they discover that Steve has brought 3 armored trucks for protection. Napster, who is at the train station with his equipment, hacks into the Los Angeles traffic system to locate the trucks. He examines the length of the back tires on the trucks and correctly concludes that the one with the shortest length is carrying the gold. He disables the traffic system's security grid, which allows him control and causes a massive traffic jam to direct the truck to the predetermined path. Rob and Left Ear meet Charlie and Stella in the Mini Coopers on the plaza, and when Napster signals them, they dash into the subway. They jump into a subway passageway, which Napster stops with an oncoming train, and emerge in a tunnel clearance beneath an avenue. Napster leads a vehicle that approaches above them. Wrench is there, giving them the signal, and Left Ear, using C4 explosives, blows up a section of the avenue, causing it to fall directly into the tunnel, and Wrench blows a sign to conceal the hole. Steve, who is monitoring the truck from his helicopters, orders his security officers on motorcycles to follow them into the subway. After Rob subdues the guards in the tunnels, Stella finds that the safe is not the same one she saw in Steve's home. Instead, he replaced it with a professional safe that was manufactured in Israel and has a glass panel over it. Stella drills through, but the drill is caught, forcing her to open it by hand. She is stressed out, but she opens the safe. Napster counts the amount of plates and concludes that there is $27 million in gold, which they load into the cars. They drive through the sewer systems, but Steve's guards on bikes come, knocking them down as they exit the sewers in the flood control area. Steve arrives on the scene in his helicopter and follows them through the streets of Los Angeles, while Napster guides them and makes a green wave to help them traverse the streets. They split off with Rob, Left Ear, and Stella driving to the Grand Central Terminal and Charlie bringing Steve to a parking lot, where he performs a stunt that destroys Steve's helicopter, forcing him to steal a truck and follow him. Wrench is waiting at the train depot and loads the vehicles into the train. Steve arrives and bribes Wrench to let him in, but he discovers Charlie waiting. Charlie sarcastically applauds Steve's great attempt to hide the gold, but mocks him for failing. Furious, Steve pulls a gun on Charlie and demands the gold, but armed men surround him. Mashkov arrives after Charlie contacted him through Skinny Pete and agreed to offer support in exchange for a piece of the gold and Steve. Despite Steve's attempts to protect himself, Mashkov's men take him away, and Stella smacks him in the face in revenge. In memory of John, the group celebrates as they board the train to New Orleans.